Hey guys, I'm Kimberly DiMattia, or Kira if you know that I teach Russian, and I make instructional videos on Russian pronunciation and coming soon on Russian grammar. I'm also a high school teacher, so I know firsthand how COVID-19 has disrupted education and forced us to figure out how to convert to distance learning instantaneously. We're all in emergency coping mode right now. I am too, and now is not the time to be putting extra pressure on ourselves. But if, like me, you find creative things therapeutic, then you might find yourself thinking, well, how might I use technology differently in the future, going forward, even after this is over? So I thought I would walk you through my process of making videos so that you can begin to think about what kinds of videos you'd like to make. So far, I've made 3 kinds of videos: slide and voiceover videos, where I don't appear at all, I just use the PowerPoint slides and my voice to teach; bookended screencasts, where I appear at the beginning and end to say hello and goodbye, and in the middle I have a recording of me doing something on the screen of my computer, like setting it up to switch from English to Russian really fast when I type, or inserting Russian stress marks on the fly; and split-screen videos, which are just what they sound like. I'm visible on one side of the screen throughout the video, and text appears on the other side of the screen. In this video, I'll teach you how to create and publish a slide and voiceover video, from conception to finished product. I'll show you all of the equipment and programs I use, I'll give you simpler options and alternatives that you could use, and I'll share all the tips I've learned so far. If you want to learn how to make the other 2 kinds of videos I've mentioned, bookended screencasts and split-screen videos, you'll soon be able to find how-to videos on those types on my YouTube channel, Learn Russian with Kira. First, a word about publishing. Where you want to publish your video determines the format you use when you make your video. YouTube prefers a horizontal format, whereas Instagram prefers a square or vertical format. In this video, I'll teach you how to create videos for YouTube, but you can easily convert shorter, horizontal, made-for-YouTube videos to other formats using Kapwing.com, which is so intuitive that it really requires no tutorial. The advantage of slide and voiceover videos for me is that I find them easier to make because I'm not worried about how I look or the kind of light that's available when I'm ready to make them. The downside is that people like to watch other people in videos, and a moving version of me is missing from this type of video. I try to make up for that by making sure my energy is upbeat and my delivery is quick and efficient. Students are used to super short, fast-paced how-to videos these days, and the longer we take to deliver our information, the more restless and resentful they'll become. This is not the time to give long asides about our pets, though a cameo or 2 might be forgivable. Here are the basic steps I use to create and publish slide and voiceover videos. First, I write an outline or a script. I usually use an outline for longer videos and a script for very short ones. Then I record the audio voiceover. I usually do these 2 steps in batches. I write all the scripts for the upcoming week at one time, and I record the audio all at once when the house is quiet. In the past, I've tried batching the rest of these steps, and the process has sometimes gone more quickly, but it's easier to make mistakes, and when you make a mistake in this workflow, it can take a lot of time to correct, so step 2 is usually where my batching ends. Next, I create the slides or visuals that will appear while I'm talking, and because I like to publish my videos for as wide an audience as possible, I also like to include a transcript in the description that appears below the video on YouTube, because I speak pretty quickly to keep my audience engaged. My transcript also includes links that take viewers to my video course on Russian pronunciation, the book that accompanies it, my social media accounts, and my Patreon site where I'm thinking of posting a grammar video series and other cool things, as well as a shout out to my own teachers whose work has helped me to do the work that I do. But you could keep it really simple and include only your course name, the date, and the topics that you're covering. Next, I create and export the video and the cover image, which is called a thumbnail. I publish the video, or more accurately, I schedule the video to be published at a specific time, and I make sure to save the link to my published video in a spreadsheet where I can find it quickly in the future if I want to. Here are some additional optional things that I do that you could do if you wanted to. I publish audio to Podbean, which I've set up to feed to Apple Podcasts, formerly iTunes. I use Kapwing.com, as you know, to convert my horizontal video to a vertical format for Instagram. And I publish on Instagram and Facebook using Facebook Creator Studio. So far, you've caught glimpses of what programs I use to complete each step. Now I'll review them and talk about alternatives that you could use to keep things simple. I use Microsoft Word and Excel for 3 of these steps, but you could use any word processing program for all of them, any program you can use to type a document, and almost all computers seem to come with a simple word processing program these days. I use a digital recorder to record my audio, but you could easily use QuickTime, which is free for both Macs and PCs. To create slides, I use Microsoft PowerPoint, and I often draw on Canva.com for extra images, but you could use any application that makes slides, as long as you can export those slides as a batch of images that you can later incorporate into your video. iMovie is an easy-to-use video editor, and it's free for Macs, but of course you can use any video editor out there. In this tutorial, I teach you to use YouTube to publish, but you could also use Vimeo if you want to keep your videos very secure and not able to be copied easily, or you could go with the choice of young people everywhere, Instagram. At the beginning, however, I'd stick with YouTube, especially if your videos are not super short. YouTube is made to work with computers and smartphones, unlike Instagram, which loses some functionality on the computer. And your students won't have to have a special account to view your videos. Now I'll share some tips with you that apply to a few of the steps in the process. First, recording audio. To record audio, if you're just getting started, I recommend using QuickTime, which is free for both Macs and PCs. It's very simple and easy to use, and the audio file exports right to your computer. It's very intuitive, but there are plenty of how-to videos if you get stuck. You could also use a smartphone or a portable digital recorder, which is what I use. Mine is the Tascam DR05. The quality is amazing, and I absolutely recommend the investment when you're ready. When I finish a batch of recordings, I can either plug the Tascam directly into a USB port to transfer the files, or I can remove the micro SD memory card, insert it into an adapter, and load the files onto the computer. I'll be sure to include links to the programs and devices I recommend in the description of this video. Plan to record at a time when you have the best chance of being alone in a quiet room. Rooms with a lot of hard surfaces are echoey, so it's good to choose rooms with carpeting and soft furniture if possible. If you're using a script, it helps to practice a little first, and once you have a little experience under your belt, it helps to record the audio for several videos at once. At the beginning of each session, make one audio recording and listen back right away so that you can make adjustments, especially in the energy in your voice and the speed of your delivery. It's normal if you cringe at this point. You might not be human if you don't. Just try to imagine what kind of delivery your audience would most like to listen to and shoot for that. Next, creating slides. First, let's talk about content. At first, I was creating slides right from my scripts and outlines using all of my examples, but when I watched the videos afterwards, I realized that my slides looked a lot more like a textbook with too much information to absorb easily, and that video really lends itself to a different kind of visual. So now my slides are much simpler. They have much less text on them because I don't write entire rules or concepts down, just phrases, and I use arrows and highlighting to make my point. So when you're creating your own slides, go back and think through or listen to the audio that you recorded and think creatively about what would be most helpful to see on the screen. Additionally, I like to set my slides up a certain way. When I type, for example, I don't like my text to shrink if I fill a text box or if I indent. I like to include a standard background image that won't move around if I accidentally happen to click and drag on it, and I like to have consistent, modern-looking fonts. So I've set up a template that I use, and every time I want to make a new set of slides, I open that template up and choose Save As from the black File menu to save it under a different title. Now I'll teach you to set up your own template. In this section of the video, you'll learn how to find and modify a background image you like, access the master slides in a PowerPoint presentation, add the background images, fix the shrinking text issue, choose consistent, beautiful modern fonts, and access the Emoji and Symbols panel on a Mac, where you can add emojis, of course, but where you can also add an accent mark to any letter or character you wish, which happens to be super useful for Russian teachers. Finally, you'll learn how to export the slides you created in PowerPoint so that you can use them when you're ready to create your video in iMovie or whatever video editor you want to use. First, find a background image that you like somewhere. I like to use Canva.com. All of their photos are royalty-free. You do have to set up an account in order to use the site, but they offer a free level of membership that gives you access to a lot of beautiful photos and images. Click on Create a Design to get started. Because I publish my Word of the Day videos on Instagram, I choose the Instagram post format. But now we'll select Video to get a canvas with the right dimensions for a YouTube video. Click on Photos, type a word in the search box, browse, and select the photo you think you might like for your background. If there's enough simple space in the photo, it's likely to make a beautiful background. Click on the photo you want, and it will appear on your canvas. Drag the corners to resize and click and drag to reposition the image. You can also flip the image horizontally or vertically to suit your needs. I often use 2 or more related images as backgrounds in my videos. Let's make a second background image with white space in it by copying this page, clicking on Elements, and choosing the square. We can change its color and reposition it so that later it can serve as the background for text or other images. Once you're happy with the results, first click on Publish, then Download. Notice that PNG is the file type, and confirm by clicking on the Download button at the bottom. You now have background photos you can use for the slides you'll create in PowerPoint. Now we need to create the PowerPoint template. Open up PowerPoint and look for the white View menu on the right. Click on View and then on Slide Master, and on the left you'll see all the ready-made slide formats available to you, with the granddaddy of them all at the top. If you modify the text on that one, the changes are made on every slide, which is a fabulous feature. We can import the main background photo to all of the slide layouts as well. We click on the granddaddy slide, go to the white Insert menu, choose Pictures, click on Picture from File, and select the photo that we want to set as our background. We've essentially overlaid the photo on top of some of the text, but we can use the Send Backward button to make sure it's the object on the very bottom of the pile. I like to use white text on colored backgrounds, so we can visit the white Home menu again, and reset the color, and choose the font we want to use for different levels of text. Now we have a beautiful, consistent look for all of our slides. To fix the shrinking text issue, I like to select all the text in the main body, go to the white Home menu, and reset the font size. Voila! Now text will not shrink as you indent. There's one more thing I like to do at this stage. I double-click on the edges of the text boxes of the layouts I think I'll use, and the Format Shape pane opens up on the right. Under Text Options, I click on the little box on the right for text boxes. I like to make sure my text is aligned at the top, that the text is wrapped in the shape, and I select Resize Shape to Fit Text. I do this for each text box I think I'll use, but I don't worry about it too much. I can always change each of these features again once I'm creating the slides. These are simply convenient default settings. As I was saying before, I often have 2 or 3 different backgrounds I like to use in a single presentation, and I can do this with the Insert Layout button back in the Slide Master menu. This button lets me customize new layouts. I usually turn off the footers and sometimes the title, but the real purpose is to create a different background for some layouts. Finally, I'll rename this new layout by right-clicking on the slide thumbnail on the left, or on a Mac, I'll hold down Control and click on the thumbnail to get a drop-down menu. At this point, we can go to the Slide Master menu again and click the red box with the X in it to close the master, and we're off and running. Now when I want to add a new slide, I can click the little arrow next to the New Slide button and choose the type of slide I want to add. I have a few more tips for you as you're creating your slides for individual instructional videos. This is a set of slides I've created for a Word of the Day episode I'm ready to make into a video, and as you can see, I didn't put any graphics or information along the bottom because I want to be able to add subtitles to the bottom of my slides later, or allow others to do it on YouTube. Also, although some of you may use animations in your PowerPoint files, I don't advise it in this process, because when you export each slide as a PNG file, you'll only get one PNG image per slide, and it'll include all of the text that you wanted to reveal at the end, instead of revealing it bit by bit. Instead, make a new slide for each different image you want your students to see. You can always use some fancy transitions between the images if you want to in iMovie later. Finally, if you're on a Mac, I have a little tip for language teachers who want to include stress marks when they type, and also for those who want to access emojis. On a Mac, you can hold down the Control and Command keys and hit the space bar. This opens up Emoji and Symbols, which you can also access in the Edit menu. To insert an emoji into your presentation, place your cursor where you'd like the emoji to appear and click on the emoji symbol twice. It's possible to insert stress marks over most vowels on a Mac by holding down the vowel for a second or two, waiting for the diacritic pop-up menu to appear, and choosing the number that corresponds to the version that you want. However, this does not work for all Russian vowels at this point in time, and maybe there are deficiencies in other languages as well. No worries, you can hit the little box in the upper right corner of the Emoji and Symbols window to expand it, and in the search box at the top, type in 0301, which is the character code for the combining acute accent, which is what we want. Place your cursor just after the desired letter in your PowerPoint and double-click on the image of the accent, and voot! You're all set. By the way, if you want to set up your keyboard to insert stress marks on the fly so that your hands never have to leave the keyboard, I have a video on my YouTube channel that shows you how. Alrighty, once you're done with your slides, go to the File menu in the Mac menu bar, select Export, change the file format from PDF to PNG, and select Save Every Slide. Name your folder so you don't get confused, and keep it right on your desktop for now. Now each slide will be a separate image that you can drop into iMovie. Compiling videos in iMovie is pretty simple and intuitive. Make sure you have all the pieces you need for your video in one folder. That would be the audio you recorded, any music you want to use, and the PNG slides you just made in PowerPoint. It helps to name your files very clearly and consistently so you can always find what you need. Open iMovie and choose the big plus button to Create New and select Movie. There are three main areas you'll use here: the media area, where the building blocks of your video will go, the screen, where you can preview the video as you put it together, and the timeline, where you can drop different pieces in and rearrange them. It's useful to set up some defaults here. Go to iMovie in the Mac menu bar, and then Preferences. I set the photo placement to fit. I make the default photo duration 5 seconds, and I make the default transitions 1 second. Click the red circle to exit and save those defaults, and now we're ready to import our building blocks. Click the big Import Media arrow, navigate to the folder that contains all the pieces for this video, select all, and click Import. Now they're all in the media area ready to use. I like to select all the images next. On a Mac, you can click on one image, hit Command-A to select all the pieces, deselect the audio clips by holding down Command and clicking on just the audio, and drag and drop all the pieces into the timeline. Click somewhere else to deselect them, and now you can reorder them if they're out of order for any reason. Drag the audio to the bottom of the timeline, and when you're ready, attach it to the images and adjust the volume so there's no red and only a little yellow. You can change the duration of the slides by dragging the edge, and you can cut out sections of the audio by selecting the audio track, placing your cursor over the spot where you want to make the first cut, and hitting Command-B at the same time. Make another cut at the end of the bad spot, highlight the clip you want to remove if it's not already highlighted, and hit Delete. Now you can drag the rest of the audio over so there's no gap. Be sure to edit the audio and video together from the beginning, rather than trying to cut out all the audio mistakes first. I've found that when I try to do all the audio first, my audio clips get changed in ways I don't expect when I'm editing the video clips. When your video is done, preview it to make sure you don't need to tweak anything else. Place your cursor at the very beginning of the timeline, Go to the screen area and click on the expansion arrows in the lower right corner, and your video will start playing. I like to preview once from the point of view of a student, and again with one eye on my script or outline to make sure I don't need to adjust either the video itself or the script if I'm planning to publish it as a transcript on YouTube. To export the video, go to the upper right corner and click the square with the arrow pointing upward. This time around, choose File, create a name for your video that can be consistent with other videos you're planning to make, and don't worry about tags for now. Choose Video and Audio for the format. I use 1080 for most videos, or 720 if I need to reduce the size of the file, and I use better quality. To be honest, I'm not an expert on what all of this means, but I know that there are some competing needs that have led me to these settings, two of them being file size and quality. You may eventually learn more about these choices from others, and if you do, feel free to educate me in the comments section. I would welcome a little more knowledge in this area. Click Next, choose a location, and save your video. Congratulations, you have produced a video! There's one more thing you'll want to do before leaving iMovie. With your cursor still at the very beginning of your video, go to the upper right corner and choose the square with the arrow in it again, but instead of choosing File, this time you'll choose Image. Give it a name, and then type Thumbnail at the end of the name. This will become the cover image you'll ask YouTube to use for your video. If you don't create your own custom thumbnail, YouTube will choose some random frames from the middle of your video, and they're rarely what you want people to see when they're ready to click on your video to play it. Now for YouTube. There's so much information on a YouTube page that it's quite confusing to look at first, but it's really easy to learn to use. Create and log into your YouTube account online and look in the upper right corner for the video camera symbol with a plus sign in it. Choose Upload Video and drag your video right onto the upload area, or use the Select File button to navigate to it. Now you get to add some information to display below your video. Your video name should pre-populate in the title field, but parentheses and other symbols don't always appear, so you might have to add them. I put my transcript of the video in the description area for short videos, along with links to my video course on Russian pronunciation, my social media accounts, and my Patreon site, as well as some shout-outs to my teachers. But you can keep it really simple with a course name, a date, and the topics that you're covering. Then scroll down to the thumbnail section. Click on Upload Thumbnail and navigate to the image you exported from iMovie that had thumbnail in the title. See how we did that? Very easy to find this way. The rest of the options on this page, especially tags, are important if you want your videos to be found by people all over the world, but you can easily research how to use them on your own. At this point, I usually copy the video link and drop it into a spreadsheet so that I can find it easily later if I want to. When you click Next, you'll have the option to add an end screen. Again, useful for promoting your work online, but not necessary for teachers who need to get their videos posted as quickly as possible. Hit Next again, and now you can either publish your video instantly or schedule it to post automatically at a later time. As you can see, you can make your video public, accessible to everyone all over the world, or you can make it unlisted, meaning it won't come up in search results when people Google your topic, but your students can find your video if you give them a link to it in an email. Or you can make it private, where you actually enter up to 50 email addresses of people who have YouTube accounts, and only they can log in and view the video. Unlisted is easier than private, because you can simply email your students the same link you already copied into your spreadsheet. But what I like to do is schedule my videos to appear publicly at a regular time every weekday. All you have to do is select Schedule and choose the date and time. That's it, scheduled. Time for a well-earned celebration of some kind. That was a lot of information. I hope it was helpful, and if it was, share it with a colleague. And if you have questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section or contact me, and I'll do my best to get back to you. Okay, be well, everybody.